Welcome to MARC Matters, a monthly TV series produced by MARC Inc. of Manchester that focuses on people with disability, their success, and challenges. Today, we'll be talking to Betsy Smith, the Employment Director of MARC Inc. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you, Tom. Well, good morning.
Good morning, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good.
What does MARC provide as a community rehabilitation provider on the Bureau of Rehabilitation Service and Board of Education Service for the Blind?
Well, we've been working with the Bureau of Rehab Services for a long time. As you know, we're a 58-year-old agency, and we worked specifically for the Bureau of Rehab Services for almost the entire time. In the last few years, there have been some opportunities for new contracts that we sought out and were awarded. So now we are able to work with the Bureau of Rehab Services as a community provider. Recently, we got another contract through the Bureau of Rehab Services, and this one is called Interview Preparedness. And it is just what it sounds like, assisting people to prepare for interviews. So to date, we now serve 11 people.
How did MARC get involved with these contracts?
Well, as I said, we have always been involved with BRS, actually person by person. But when we saw the opportunity for some new contracts, we did go seek them out. And due to our experience, our 58 years servicing people with disabilities, we were awarded the contracts. We very much liked to be a private provider through BRS because it gave us some more opportunities to help the people that we presently serve seek out some more resources that we weren't able to get for them. For example, one of our individuals has services through the Board of Ed Services for the Blind. And with these recent contracts, we were able to get him some on-the-job training hours and wages that weren't offered through the DDS opportunities. And this person now works at MARC as our receptionist. So it worked out very well. So we look for new resources through these contracts for our people.
If you think MARC's been there for 58 years, you got to be kidding. It seems like only 20.
Yeah, well, it's been 58.
Who is eligible to receive the services, the support, excuse me?
Well, any person with disability is eligible for the services. Many times a team who gets together will decide. Through BRS, usually people are interested in working and eventually going to be working on their own because the Bureau of Rehab Services opportunities are time limited. So somebody who may not have had a lot of work experience, the Bureau of Rehab Services worker may invite us to the team meeting and then ask us to give the person some work experience. Would you like me to explain that a bit further?
Would you please?
Okay. A work experience generally is going to be a 40-hour opportunity. And what we do is we seek out employers in the area that the person is interested. So for example, we had somebody who actually did a work evaluation at the Hoyt Cinemas, which is right across from our parking lot. And this person was very much interested in maintenance. And they did 20 hours one week and 20 hours another week. And we were able to evaluate their ability to work in maintenance at the Hoyt Cinemas. Now this person is coming back to us again, and we're going to now find them employment. At the time,
excuse me.
Yep. Hoyt Cinema didn't have the ability to hire a maintenance person, even though he did a very fine job. They just didn't have the ability to hire. They didn't have the hours. So now we're going to seek an opportunity in maintenance for this individual through the working interview part of BRS.
excuse me again.
Yeah, yeah.
What are some of the goals to provide this services?
Well, again, it's going to be based. Here we go. Hon. Would you like some water? It'll be based on the individual and what they're most interested in. Our contract allows us to do a work evaluation, a working interview, and we also can offer job coach for those 40-hour assessments and consumer wages. Once we are done with supporting the person in that 40-hour assessment, we also write up a comprehensive report so that everybody who's involved with the person can see what was assessed in that 40 hours. And then many a times, once we have finished with the assessments, they ask us to find employment, and that's called a working interview. And we do, as I said, the individual who worked at the Hoyt Cinema is coming back, and we're going to find him a job in maintenance. Okay, we've also worked with ShopRite. We've also worked with AJ Wright. We've also worked, we're developing a relationship at MCC for somebody for an opportunity. So we get a good chance to meet with the employers also.
So this, if I'm right, the jobs that you got for other people is through the BRS?
Some jobs would be through BRS, but it's based on one person at a time, Tom. And the person is only going to have time-limited support, so it's only going to be for a few months that we would help them, and then the idea is they would be on their own. And that's a little different from what we do with services and supports from the Department of Developmental Disabilities. Those supports go for as long as is needed for the person.
What are the benefits of this service for the participants?
Well, we have one woman who is interested in working in the medical field, and she has a little bit of clerical background, but not much. So she needs to have the work experience part that we call the work evaluation, and that's the area that we're interested in working with MCC. So for some people, it's getting work experience. Then for others, it's actually getting the working interview, learning how to prepare for an interview, writing a resume, knowing how to dress properly, knowing how to call up an employer, knowing how to fill out an application, and that's the interview preparedness service. And once those are done, many times we do a working interview, which is approaching an employer and asking, highlighting all the experiences the person has had and their resume, and encouraging the person presents themselves to be hired. And we help them with that. And we did have somebody work at ShopRite in just that way. Okay, so out of the 11 participants, there were 6 who were interested in the working experience, work eval. They weren't yet interested in the placement, but out of the 2 who were interested in the placement, both have been successful. So our results have been pretty good, and we're happy about that.
Now I'm glad we do have MARC.
Yes, yes.
How do you develop short-term goals for the individuals?
What we do is we go to the Bureau of Rehab Services office, and we will be there with the worker, and we frequently go to the Manchester office, and there's 5 wonderful workers over there, and we meet with the person who's interested, and we design the goals right then. And the person may say, I have experience, I need a job. And we will go right to the working interview. but it's based on the Bureau of Rehab Services workers assessment too. They may say, well, I don't think you're yet ready. I want you to do one more work eval. We're going to hire Mark to work with you in the manufacturing setting. So it is based on each person individually and what they're interested in. Okay.
How are the participants employed, choose, and employment plan developed?
Again, the same team of people who got together for the initial meeting get together and devise the plan. And usually it's from Mark, it's myself or our job developer, Jean McAllister, and she would look at their experience, and she would also tell the BRS worker, based on the economic conditions right now, it is maybe the medical field is the better choice than the manufacturing. Again, that's just, we bring some of our expertise in job development, and the BRS worker brings their expertise in making assessments and knowing how people have done over the years. It's a pretty good plan. We work together.
Now, where is BRS located?
Good question. We have a BRS office right in Manchester, and it is on East Middle Turnpike, and it's right next to the Department of Social Services. We also work with the Hartford office, which is 3580 Main Street in Hartford, and those are the two offices we have worked with so far, because the East Hartford office combined with the Manchester, as did the Willimantic. So those are the two offices right now that we work with.
How do you help participants through the interview process?
One at a time. There are some people who would get that 5 to 10 hour opportunity to have one-to-one with a job coach on how to do your application, how to do your resume, as I said, how to dress, how to approach the employers. The other individuals who don't need that, they've already know how to interview, they may have a resume, we would speak to them about what their interests are, and we do a career interest inventory, again, making sure the kind of field they want to work in, and then we would practice. We would do some practice and ask them the same kind of questions that an employer would ask, and we would help them with the answers. We would also talk about what they would wear for the interview. We would talk about arriving 10 minutes early and being prompt. We would prepare the questions with them so they would know what to ask the employer. And many a time we drive and go with the person on the interview, even if we're waiting in the waiting room and not going in. So we would also assist with transport.
So if you went with somebody,
yeah,
and the employer says to you, if you please wait out here, because they like to do it one-on-one.
Yes.
But some employers may ask you to come in with the person.
It would probably be based on what the person was most comfortable with.
Okay. How many people have MARC served under this contract?
Right now, it's just, we have 11 people enrolled and 2 in the interview preparedness, so it's 11 total. And it began in full force in July, but then there was a lot of retirements in all state offices, so it really kicked off in September, and we have served 11, so we're pretty happy with those results.
If someone is interested in utilizing this service, who should they contact?
Well, today they could certainly contact us, myself, or Jean McAllister at MARC Inc. of Manchester. And I believe people know the phone number, 860-646-5718, or they can contact their local BRS office. And as you asked me previously, the ones we work with are in Manchester and Hartford. That would be another avenue if they're interested in the service.
If a business is interested in participating in this placement service, who should they contact?
The best thing would be to contact us at MARC. Again, as I already gave the phone number, but we're also available via email, and that would be bsmith@marcct.org. Or they could also contact their local BRS office. They may be surprised. We may be contacting them first, too. If we hear that somebody was interested, we will seek them out, as in other forms of job development. So we keep on top of what's happening with the Manchester Chamber, the East Hartford Chamber, the South Windsor Chamber. Again, we're always trying to remain aware of job openings and opportunities for all the people we serve.
Now, let's go back to 4.
Okay.
If we could. What's some of the goals that was provided through this service? Now, some of them is through you people, correct?
Yes, yeah. A lot of the goals that I can speak about are the ones on our contract.
Would you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you, because that gives me a chance to summarize on exactly what our contract provides. We have the ability to have a working evaluation, which is going to a job that the person was interested in and doing 40 hours of situational assessment. And in that same opportunity, individuals are paid and they're provided with a job coach, so that there's a few things they gain from that. They gain the work experience, but they also gain the benefit of the job coach, and they are paid for the 40 hours. So there's some wages that it's attached with that. The next thing that we provide is the working interview. And again, that purpose is to have somebody be employed. We're approaching the employer for a job. The other thing that we do for individuals is called a comprehensive report. And we write up, after having the opportunities to do an assessment and doing the working interview, we write up a comprehensive report. So this is with the person in their file, and we use that information to seek employment. So there's a lot of benefits through the Bureau of Rehab Services.
Now, if they're not going for a job, excuse me, and you want them to come tomorrow, to have like one of you people be the employer. Would you go through with them like that and then take them to the job and talk to the employer?
We would need to go through the Bureau of Rehab Services first, okay, or the Board of Ed Services for the Blind. They both have vocationally trained workers whose expertise is either working with people with disabilities who are going to be going to work pretty soon, or people who have limited sight issues. And that worker contacts us on behalf of the person, and we meet as a team. There are times that there's people at MARC who get funding from also the Department of Developmental Services and the Bureau of Rehab Services. And in that case, I could contact them and say, I'd like to get Tom a certain adaptive equipment that'll help him on his job. Can we get together and have a meeting, and you can help us assess what's the best equipment for Tom? So there's a couple other ways to get the good services that are available.
Now, I have not asked this, but how long is the process?
It generally is 3 months. You know, start to finish. It's quick, and that's why that's the big difference between the Bureau of Rehab Services and the Department of Developmental Services. The person has to be able to benefit from those services if they're served by BRS within about 3 months, maybe 4. They're time limited. They go for just that long. Whereas the people that we serve who are given Department of Developmental Services, that service, that funding is designed to be in place annually. It's needed throughout the year. So that's why it's a good thing to be able to be a provider through the Department of Developmental Services, like MARC is, and also a provider for the Bureau of Rehab Services, because we can seek out resources that may not be provided by DDS, but may be helpful to the person. If they're a BRS participant, we can seek those out. And also, we get to work with some individuals who may not be funded by the Department of Developmental Services, but they need some time-limited help to get into the workforce. You know, they just might need that 3 or 4 months. And it's wonderful that we can now provide that because of these contracts. So it really benefits a lot of people.
Now, does it benefit the person that's getting the job, or does this benefit MARC?
No, the whole reason it's in place is to help somebody with their employment. We must provide the staff, so we need to have staff for that. But the whole reason it's in place is to benefit the person. Okay?
Well, Betsy, you've done a good job.
Thank you, Tom. Well, you've asked some very good questions that helped me clarify things.
Well, out of time, I'd like to thank Betsy Smith.
You're welcome.
For giving us what we need to know about BRS. And I'd like to thank also my crew, too, because they've been wonderful with me through this.
Great.
Thank you, and good night.